to Cindy's Little Corner. If you're new here, welcome. Click that little subscribe button down below. Don't worry, it won't bite. Doing so, you will be able to see this face every Friday, because who doesn't want to see this face every Friday? I don't have my Beauty Guru candle lit, but that's because I'm not a beauty guru today. Instead, I am coming at you with a DIY, and I hope you guys enjoy. My dad and I spent hella forever on this, and we are so proud of it. And it is this beauty right back here. All right. I know y'all are probably like, dang, this is already like an hour long. I know. I'll probably lose a lot of y'all within this video. I am sorry. I tried to condense it as much as possible, but I wanted to keep a lot of information for y'all, because I noticed on YouTube that there was a lot of people who were recreating the DIY vanity, but it was very cut and dry. They didn't offer as much information as what I wanted to recreate this, so we ended up having to experiment. So that is why I am creating this DIY vanity in-depth tutorial for y'all, for if you guys ever want to recreate this and have any questions, because I'm pretty sure I covered everything from head to toe in this video for y'all. So I apologize, it is lengthy, but it is honestly worth it in the end for those few people who want or are interested in recreating this. I will put in the description the measurements slash, kind of template for y'all if you want to recreate this. And I will also list everything that was bought for this, along with the prices, and then just the grand total, probably without tax. I would have to say ballpark number 200, which you could probably buy this for about 500, maybe 600. And I just think that's honestly crazy. Y'all can make this so much cheaper, but you're spending a lot of time making this. So
I'm very happy with it. I'm very glad that my dad was here to help me with this, because this would have probably taken me a month instead of a week. So, round of applause for my dad. He did great. He was the majority of the muscle in this DIY. I just made it cute and told him where each thing should go. And yes, there's a light bulb that just went out.
So let's go ahead and get our hands dirty and make this DIY vanity. Alright, so here's pretty much all the supplies you need. We have the actual bath bars itself, and I chose the 4, and you will need 2 of those for the sides. Then there is the same brand, just 3, and you will need that for the top. These are the bulbs that I was suggested to get. It is 25 watt, and you can get more wattage, but since we have a lot of lights, it would be extremely bright, and that would really kill your energy bill. So I would suggest getting a low wattage, and I grabbed 5 of these boxes, and then working gloves and a tape measure, and then we have the dimmer and on switch, and then a outlet for plugging in any straighteners, hair dryers, and then we have these electrical caps that will go on the back, and these were included with the bath bars, but I did pick up extra ones just in case. And then my dad picked up cable clamps. And then in order to do the electrical work, you need a approximately 25-foot wire that we will be cutting and splicing to connect the beauty bars. And then you will need the outlets, and then the 2 holes for the dimmer and the outlet. And then we have the drill bit, which is 1.5 inches. And then my dad was actually smart and picked these up for the bottom, so that way the beauty vanity mirror won't be directly on my vanity. It will have some type of cushion. And then we have wood filler and mirror glue. And then I opted for the primer and a white gloss paint, so we can paint the entire mirror white. And again, this is just the items that you need, that are the majority of. and I think I covered everything. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. Alright, we are first taking the mirror out of the frame.
We're having to do this because it was difficult for her to find just a plain mirror that didn't have a frame on it, that wasn't exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah, you would have thought that you can find a mirror by itself, but apparently it's hard to do. So I got this mirror at Target. I'm probably going to repurpose the frame and use it for something else, but I at least need the mirror for the project that we are doing. So it is a little bit tough to get the mirror out, but with a little elbow grease you can.
Yeah, notice whose elbow grease is getting used here.
My sidekick. Yeah, he loves this kind of thing.
Just gotta be careful not to crack it. Let's see if there's any silicone. Yes, there is. So that's gonna be a pain in the patootie.
Alright, so there's silicone that attaches the mirror to the frame itself, and so we are going to have to figure out a way to unattach it.
I know how, just gotta find the right tool.
So we are just taking box cutter. And it looks like that is working. Just be very gentle whenever you're doing this so you don't hurt the mirror itself.
Basically, they have a bead of caulk along this edge here. Acts two purposes, kind of more of a sealant. Still got to be careful when you're working with glass. Alright, now I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to go ahead and take the extra time to pull these things. 1, so it's unobstructed. 2, so Dad doesn't stab himself. Say a dirty word on TV.
Yeah, what he's doing is he's just removing those staples from the frame.
They were just used to wedge the mirror.
Alright, and that is the final mirror from the frame.
Of course, you're getting pictures of your britches.
Oh, I know. Excuse my sense of style today.
I do makeup, not fashion.
I could do fashion in the future, just not now.
There's a lot of tape back here. I probably should have taken off first. One of those lessons learned things, because we're going to glue this to the plywood. I just don't want this to mess up the glue. So I'll take the time to pull off as much of it as I can.
Yeah, if I find a store online or just a store in general that sells mirrors by itself, I will definitely link that down in the description bar below. But I will be linking this mirror in the description bar for you guys. And, you know, maybe in the future I'll show what we end up doing with the frame. Alright, we're just trying to determine how I want the bulbs to be, because the gray part will be on the bottom of the plywood, and these will go through the plywood.
The distance between here and here would still be sufficient enough for us to put a piece of trim in there.
Correct.
So I'm gonna. So you're gonna have the width of this piece of wood's gonna be about right here.
And that wood right there is what is going to be pretty much boxing in the frame.
That's about how much it's going to overlap. So I don't want this edge to mix up with that. So
Right.
bring that in about right here.
I guess, the same distance. Because we could put the bar in between this distance of the frame or the box frame and then the mirror.
We'll call that a little more than 3/4 of an inch. So we'll make this, put this edge on 2 inches. That's where this edge is going to go. 2 3/4 from here to the back end of this light. And we'll want, let's say we want 2 inches from here to the edge of the mirror. So it'll be 4 3/4 inches. So we're going to go 2 inches to the other side of that.
Right.
So it's 2 plus, well, I say this is 2 3/4.
2 3/4, so it'll be
It'll be
4
4.
3/4.
4 3/4. That'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4 to the edge of the mirror. 6 3/4. Now let's work on the top line. Alright, so what are we looking at the top? So you're still going to have that piece of trim or the wood.
I guess
You
we
still
could
want to go 4,
have it the same, pretty much make it a
6 3/4.
rectangle.
Alright, so that's what we're looking at. So it's going to be 6 3/4 inches.
I think that's a good size.
Well, we'll see. You know, we've never done this before, so if we have to replace that piece of plywood, it's only $15. So that's basically going to make it 36 inches wide, because this is basically a foot from the edge, which is keeping everything consistently in line. That's our cut. Do you want more gap between here and here, or you want to keep it all the same?
Keep it the same. Make it a rectangle.
This is a prototype 1, so we'll have to make 1 cut, 2 cuts.
It was 6 3/4, right?
Yes.
And we did 6 3/4 on all sides. The thing about this mirror is that it's not high quality. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put a trim around the mirror so that way it's not a harsh.
See how, by virtue of, they had staples that were holding the back of the mirror on.
Right.
So when we pulled the staples out, it kind of scratched that. So it took that
And-
piece off. So we're going to put trim around here once it's finished out.
I think it would look nicer that way. So on the bottom, we're taking it up a little bit since we don't have lights on the bottom.
I'm going to go 4 inches from the bottom of the mirror.
Okay, so on the sides and the top, it will be 6 3/4, but for the bottom, it will be 4 inches.
I'm cutting this way. I'm cutting this way.
Okay. We just put tape on top of the mirror so that way we can easily store it, and
If it does break, it won't be so bad. What I'm going to do is that this piece of plywood has a sanded side and a rough side. Now, what I still need to do is to mark the holes for where we're going to drill for the lights. So what I'm going to do is I prefer to drill that from the back side, because I don't really want to ruin the finish on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these temporary braces here, and I'm going to drill it such that I'm going to have this upside down. So I'm actually going to have, this is where all the electric part's going to go, so I can mark on that a lot easier. So I'm going to mark it upside down so that once I'm done cutting all the holes, I can remove the screws, flip the board over, and then use the planks that we're going to use for the permanent side rails. So now I can mark all of our
beauty bar
beauty bar
holes.
stuff. Okay, but I'm going to need to translate a little bit of this. Notes that we took off the side here. I mean 4 3/4 to the edge of the first hole.
We are just redoing our measurements on the opposite side.
This is the outside edge of the bulb. Okay, so this is the outside edge of the light bulbs. I need to make one more.
Part that we did skip was the actual sawing of the wood, which it's pretty self-explanatory.
And I needed 2 hands to help, so she had to put the camera down.
And I'm sure there are many YouTube videos showing you how to cut wood. And if your dad is watching, I'm sure he knows how to do that.
Or, if you go to Home Depot and you know what your measurements are going to be, they can pre-cut it. They have the tools to pre-cut the plywood for you.
Sure, you could tip him.
Trust me, if I mess up this piece of plywood during construction, when I go back to buy a replacement piece, I'm going to take the measurements from this and tell those guys to cut it. So this is, in essence, this is the back of the board.
Yes.
So I've already measured, basically it's going to be to the outside edge of
The
bulbs.
light socket. Because what we could do is we could have these sides it's about 6 inches away for the distance in between those 2 light sockets. But then again, I was really bad at math in high school.
That's 6 inches.
Ah, I was right.
You were right. What?
I know.
What?
0.1 for Gryffindor. Alright, so the last bulb will be at 4 3/4.
For the vertical ones, we may need to make some adjustments because these are going to be too close. So if we're looking at keeping these at 6 inches apart,
Right.
it's right there, and then making this equidistant. We'll call that 2 1/4. Oh my gosh.
Is that right on the dot?
You know, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Alright.
That's about the way it worked out. Okay, so I'm going to go 2 1/4 inches from the edge to this right here, which works out 2 1/4 inches from here to here, and that still allows me to have 6 inch between here and here. So that's going to be wonderful. So again, we're going 2 1/4 inches. So ultimately what we're looking for is the first place to drill the first hole. So
that's
just
where
to be sure, this is going to be 2 1/4, 2 1/4. That's going to be 2 1/4, 2 1/4 to the outside edge. Alright. So does this still give me 6 inches from here to here? That's off. Yep, we're good there. Okay. So then once I get this first hole drilled,
we should be able to determine.
I can go straight down the line with 5 holes.
Exactly. Alright, now we're just putting the drill bit, which is 1.5 inch.
So what's half of 1.5, Sydney?
3/4. 3/4.
What I'm doing here is finding the center hole where to put the drill bit, because all the measurements I was doing was to the outside edges. So ultimately I need to find a place to put that drill.
Don't forget your safety glasses and your gloves.
Okay, that That'd be the first hole. This is basically the line where the drill bit's gonna go. Every 6 inches.
Every 6 inches.
Right.
And how did you determine that line?
This line right here is basically the edge of, because everything has to be 6 inches apart, because we put these bulbs in here, and because these are in 2 pieces, we have to make sure that when we set these down, these had to be 6 inches apart. So by moving them this way and this way, it gives us an equal distance here. So when these go in, it'll be equal, or they'll match. And then you had to get the verticals down here to where this is going to be lined up with this last hole. So I'm sure there's other better ways to do it, and other dads slash carpenters will have a better way, but I'm a structured cabling engineer, not a carpenter. Alright, so I got to go 6 inches from here to here. Center is 3 and 3. So this is going to be 3 plus, it's going to be a 9-inch mark. 9 plus 6 is what, Sydney? 15.
15.
15 plus 6 is
21.
21. 21 plus 6.
27.
So how many holes we got to do? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so this is the very point of the bit. This actually has a gap in here for 2 purposes. Well, for me it serves 2 purposes. One is to get the blank out once you drill through, and 2, I can see through this, make sure I can get that point, and the point that I have marked right here to where I want to put the head of that bit. It should be right there.
So we are now just creating the other holes.
A moment of truth.
Ka-chow!
Oh, ka-chow. My worker's doing. Alright. So, let's keep up the same thing going this way. So I'm going to mark 3 inches up. 3 plus 6 is what?
9.
9 plus 6 is?
15.
Plus 6 is?
21.
Plus 6 is?
27.
Plus 6 is?
33.
Oh, off just a tad. But we're only talking 9, 15, 21, 27. So that should be 33. So I'm really only a 1/4 inch off, and that, folks, is not too bad. It's perfect. It should be perfect, because I was thinking this is 33 inches. It's already 3 inches. So I'm good. Sweating over nothing. Another thing I kind of do, it's a tip, you're putting pressure on the drill, and you see me kind of rotate a little bit because it's got teeth, and it just kind of helps drag the teeth in a little bit. Some people may not like it because it makes the hole a little bigger, reams it out a little bit. And another thing, if you apply too much pressure and you go through the wood, you don't really want a wood bit hitting concrete. So we have a concrete floor here in the garage, so I kind of anticipate when it's going to go through, and then I'll back off the pressure a little bit so it doesn't go all the way through too hard. Plus, I think once we get this built, Sydney's sister Shelby may want one, so we'll take our lessons learned from this and apply it to the next one. Drum roll.
We have liftoff.
Good chow.
Good chow.
Alright, so again, I need to mark.
Alright, and that is what it looks like after all the holes have been made for the lights to go through.
So yeah, we cut the holes from the back side in. It spurred the plywood a bit. So it may be worthy of noting next time to drill from top down instead of bottom up. But where's that aluminum piece? The truth of the matter is also those pieces are going to go over.
And you can always sand it too. But you will need to save those so you can connect and hold the light bar in place.
Well, you can also put a bead of glue or caulk on the back side of this too, which is what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to remove these temporary edges. Okay, so now we need to make the base frame. I'm measuring the long edges for the backing on it. So that's the one. I'm going to call that left. Sydney?
Right.
Take the width, which is call it 3/4 of an inch times 2. What's 3/4 times 2? It's 1 1/2.
1.5.
Right. So 1 1/2, and the total length is 35 3/4 minus 1 1/2 is what? It's 34 1/4. So the length of the next one will need to be 34 1/4 inch. So 34 1/4.
See?
So, not sure this is perfectly square. So I'm going to measure this again. 35 3/4. Makes it perfect. So it'd be 34 1/4. Keep in mind when you use one of these saws, it blows all the dirt. So I don't want it going backwards. And these type of devices are responsible for people losing more fingers and more trips to the emergency room than anything.
It is now a frame. And this is the back where all of the electrical crap will go.
Crap. It is going to give you some gap down here, but
So we are putting it in my room just to see how it looks.
if the mirror is going to go up there about, okay, so that's the reason why we had that gap at the bottom, because we wanted an equal amount of distance kind of all the way around it. So with the mirror up there, we may be okay. Just have to lose or repurpose artwork.
That's okay. I can move it.
I'm glad you mentioned the mirror, because I would have just cut that off and
Whoops.
would have gone, hey, the whole purpose of this was to have a mirror.
I mean, lights are great and all,
Just put a
but
picture of you here. Were you always looking at a smiling face? Day one's framing and day two is finishing it. Day three, electrical.
okay, so this is a 3-day project.
So the wood filler which is being difficult.
2 hours later.
Fills the holes. That'll dry hard. Whatever lumps and bumps you have on it, sand it off. But these rips that were taken away as part of the plywood's just multiple layers. We'll pinch this off. This is really not supposed to be this difficult. And I didn't read the instructions, but didn't think I had to because it's just freaking tuba stuff.
So it's a smooth finish.
Yeah, you'll still have to sand it on the back end of it.
So now what we are doing on the side that is closest to my outlet on my vanity, we are going to be cutting our holes for the outlets, which is the dimmer and on and off switch, and then the face outlet where you plug in your hair dryer, straightener, curling iron, whatever your heart desires.
Your face outlet?
Your face outlet. It looks like a face. That's what I call it.
Your standard NEMA L15.
Okay, that's the guy talk. Girl talk, it looks like a face.
Okay. So I'm going to try the best I can to get this cut in, because usually you have an electrical. This is a back box. So I just got to get the square right.
Measurements are
for the hole, it's 3 3/4 by 2 1/8 to 2 3/16, and then it pops right in there. Ka-ching.
and those two fit perfectly for the on and off switch and the dimmer, and then the two face outlet
It's
plugs.
the 2-plug courtesy outlet. It's not the faces, silly girl.
They look like faces.
They're not faces.
Hey, that's what I call them. Comment down below if that's what you call them. Alright, so what I did last night that I did not film was get this wood filler. We actually found this in the cabinet, and it's a lot better than that squeeze tube that I showed. So I would suggest getting this one, which whenever you open it up, it kind of looks like hummus. But this is a lot easier to use than that squeeze tube, so I would suggest this. And I'm sure you can find this at Home Depot. What I did was I went to each hole and I put the wood filler over the bumps so I could fill in the wood. And I did that all on the holes, and then I also did that on each side and corner. So I did that on all the holes. So what we will do now is we will take some sandpaper so we can sand the wood filler and make that nice and smooth. Alright, so with the primer for the first coat, you're supposed to let it dry for a complete hour, and then that's when you can apply the second coat, and then after the second coat it has to dry 48 hours. what you need to paint is a roller, which is a high density foam for smooth surfaces, for a door and cabinet all sheen. These two free items, which is a stirring stick and then a paint can opener, a mini roller tray, and then I decided to go for just regular paint instead of spray paint because the problem I was running into was the spray paint was accentuating the mistakes in the wood. So this will be better to fill in all of those holes that we might have missed, and it will just have a better finish. So it is a white high gloss paint. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paint and I am going to open it, and it is just a pure white color with a high gloss finish. Then I'm going to take the wood stick thing and I'm just going to stir. I'm going to take my tray so I can put the paint in there, and I'm just going to take my roller and dip it into the paint. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours since I let the first coat dry completely. There wasn't any directions on letting me know how long to wait, so I just figured 2 hours. So I just ate dinner and poured myself a glass of wine, and now I'm going to do coat 2. Okay, so what we are doing first is we are securing the beauty bars to the wood frame. So the screw that we are using to attach the beauty bar to the frame is 3/4 of an inch. Alright, so we are now taking the 25-foot extra wire, and we are going to be using this to connect each beauty bar to each other. We are cutting 4 of these in the same length. Alright, we are stripping the wires. So it should expose a copper, white, and black wire. The 3 wires that are going to be exposed is the black, white, and copper. And you're going to expose them on both sides of the wires. And you will need 4 of those. Alright, so what are you doing here?
Stripping these to expose the cable beneath the jacket. These are all of the wire nuts that you bought.
Hats.
Right? Hats? Is that what you're going to call them?
Hats. They're hats. They're hats for the wires, so their heads don't get cold. Orange ones were given to us with all the stuff that we got. And then the yellow ones I actually...
These you can disregard because those are how you would mount it to a sheetrock wall. We're not going to do that.
Okay,
Those are
so
boring.
ignore the squiggly ones.
If you want to save that, you can save it for something else.
So for each beauty bar, what you are going to do is you're going to connect the white with white, black with black. With the copper one, what you are going to do is you are going to attach it to the screw that's on the back of the beauty bar. Alright, as you can tell, we have capped the blacks together, the whites together, and then the copper one we put around the green screw that is on the beauty bar that we just turned around to the other side.
I'm going to tie 3 of these together. We're going to connect all these back to the switch.
Alright, so we accidentally lost the ground screw, which is this green thing right here. So we're just improvising and grabbing a screw that is similar to that. Here's just a close-up of what it's supposed to look like. Blacks together, whites together, ground copper wires together, and then the extra wire that we have, which is the ground copper wire, has to be attached to this ground screw. Alright, so this is what it's supposed to look like. So the first beauty bar, the wires will connect to the second one. And then from the second one, it will go to the third one. And then from the third one, it will go to the fourth one, creating a circuit. That will then lead into the switch and dimmer. And it's always best to read instructions. I know we said we don't really read instructions, but this part you do.
To make this easy for you guys, I did not buy a connector on the cable at the store. Like most people that have owned more than 1 or 2 computers in their lifetime, I had a power cord that was for a monitor or a computer. I probably already tossed the other end, but I just cut the end of it off. This is the male part, this is what goes into the wall, and then this is what is going to feed it. It has the same wiring configuration. Green is ground, white is neutral, and then black goes to your load. So that's what I have, regular old power cord. We bought these cable clamps because what I'm going to do, there's a couple of ways you can do this. you can drill a hole into the bottom of the base here and then run your power cord through here. But what that's going to force you to do is when you stand this thing up, that power cord is going to have to be behind your desk or your table or wherever you're going to set it on. The reason I'm electing to go behind the box is because it allows the box to go flush with the back of the desk, so that this is just going to go straight down and plug into the wall. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to come up with a way to secure it. So I bought these cable clamps. These are 1/4 inch cable clamps. And what they're going to do is I'm just going to screw that into the wall or into the board here, and it's going to keep this from coming loose. It's going to be secure here so that this isn't going to pull and come loose, because ultimately you don't want to be able to pull this away and out and away from your circuit. So I'm going to screw this in here, and then we'll strip the wires and we'll complete the circuit. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the 3/4 inch screws are as short as I have, and if I sink that all the way in, it's liable to come out of the bottom a little bit. But I think with the width of the base here, yes, I did not go through. It's not going to pull out as easy. It still gives me a little play, and when we're all said and done, I'll probably put a second one in there, but for now, I'm just going to run with this. She wanted to have a 110 smiley face outlet, which is a standard 110 outlet with a ground. She wanted to have that in here as well as her switch, which is a dimmer switch, because she wanted to be able to plug her beauty stuff into this and do her curling iron or blow dryer or
Whatever your heart desires.
whatever. You can see that the faceplates overlap, so what I'll end up doing is cut this faceplate down a little bit.
But we will let you know the correct distance that you should have to be comfortably A-okay.
Alright folks, what I did was, to make it easier, in my mind anyway, to get this thing hooked up, I went ahead and pre-wired the connectivity for the electrical AC outlet. To make it look like this, it gives me more room and ease to work with, because as I bring in the dimmer switch here, it's going to allow me a little bit more ease to work with the wires back here. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this dimmer switch in. This is what's kind of extending the circuit. On your smiley faces that you have, basically your blacks are going to be one or the other here. Now on the back of the plug itself, it showed me where to put the whites and then the other ones. The whites go in here and then the black go on here, which will relate to the smiley faces on the front. And then this is our connection for our ground. Oh, and when you're messing with open wires, I just think it's common sense to know that I'm not plugged into anything.
Please don't shock yourself at home. If you're unsure about this, please contact an electrician.
Very well said. So, the instruction says that this red tag here can only be used if you're using it on a 3-way switch, which means it's wired into the house somehow or another. So this is a single pole circuit. Here's my interpretation of the instructions. So I'm taking the hot coming out of my electrical outlet, and it's going into the white of the first part of the power strip there, or the light bar. I'm wiring that up. Okay. The ground is yet another freaking ground I'm going to have to run over here. So this red wire is going to go to the black here. Some of you dads are probably laughing at my interpretation of the instructions. So this black wire is supposed to go to this hot wire from the electrical outlet. This one's not getting connected.
Which is the one with the flag on it.
Right. So I need a connection for this ground to go into here. Alright folks, I think that we have our circuit the way it should be. I'm going to double check it. I have AC power that comes in from the wall. Ground goes to ground. Ground goes to the ground going to the light. And then I have a ground. The other connectivity to the ground is to the dimmer switch. Outlet. That's our main power is coming into the bottom of this outlet, which is going to connect to this. Goes to the first light bar. This goes to hot. That goes to red. It looks cool. Alright, what I think we can do now is plug in a light bulb. Alright, not everybody's going to have one of these. It's just a plug check to check your correctness or your hot reds and everything. So I'm looking for 2 amber lights on both plugs. So that's amber, 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 amber. So my electrical to this outlet here is good. So at this point we're going to plug in a light bulb, flip this switch, and see if we get dimmer action going. Folks, so what I'm going to do, and this is just me, is I'm going to go through and on all these connections with all of this wire nuts, I'm going to put some electrical tape around them just to keep the wire nuts from falling off, have any exposed wires. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done.
What I'm doing is I'm just putting the covers back on to the beauty bars. So we screwed in our light bulb, and now we're going to do the test.
Okay, I actually have the dimmer switch upside down.
Oh, that's fine. No one's perfect.
So that's maximum power! Not so maximum power. Hey, we have a tested running circuit. We got it right the first time. Cha-ching!
Alright, now what we are doing is we grab the mirror again that I stored away, and we are just taking off that tape that we used to protect the mirror. So the problems that we've run into this mirror so far is that it's not high quality. It was a pain in the butt to get out of that really pretty frame, and it seems to have chipped on the sides, and also it has a kind of scratch from the back up. So what I would suggest to find a cheaper mirror, which I will link down below, is at Home Depot. I noticed in the very, very back of the store, towards the restroom area typically, there are framed mirrors in the vanity slash bathroom area of the store, and those frames varied in sizes, and I'll link them down below, but they are a lot cheaper than this mirror right here. So if you want to save about 20 bucks for the mirror, and I'm not guaranteeing the quality since I didn't see it, but to get a cheaper mirror with the frame, I would suggest going to Home Depot. But you live and you learn. I should have done a little bit more research on this, but it's okay. You know, it's a DIY project. You know, it's not supposed to be perfect. So we grab Goo Gone so we can get the tape residue off the mirror. To prime the wood trim that I got. Taking the metallic finish, and I decided to do gold for the trim. This part is totally optional, but I decided to add trim to my mirror because I think the trim will tie everything in together. Shake, 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 shake your booty. this side, the piece of trim wood is kind of bent, so we're just getting a steel paperweight to hold that down. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new. Thank you for actually staying to the end and watching this lengthy DIY. I hope you guys understood all of these steps that were taken, and hopefully that you were able to recreate this. And again, if you do recreate it, please tag me and hashtag it Cindy's Little Corner, because I would love to see. And of course, if you have any comments or questions, you can leave that down below, or you can contact me on my social media at the end of this video. And next week, I will be posting another collab video. It is a tag questionnaire, and y'all shall see who it is. And then the week after that, I will finally post my room tour, because y'all have been getting on my butt about that. I am so excited to do a room tour. I will definitely clean my room up, because my room is usually like a tornado went through it. So hopefully I'll have my room all clean and nice for my room tour, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I loved doing my first DIY, and leave me a comment down below of future video suggestions of what you want to see on Cindy's Little Corner, and I shall put that in my little book to keep for the future. And as always, have a great day or night wherever you may be, and I shall see y'all next Friday. Bye!